Welcome back to another episode of Competent Conquest. This week I play against Aaron, and he's playing Under Spires. This video is going to come out, I guess, today, because I'm recording it in the morning. And he recently is off a second place finish at UKGE playing this very same list. So this should be a fun one to see, and maybe give you a little bit of insight to how that tournament went. He starts out with getting, I think he got all of his lights. Yeah, he successfully rolled both of his lights in, and I don't have any because I'm playing Sorcerer Kings. So without further ado, let's see what happens. I recorded this game like 2 weeks ago, so I don't really remember what happens. I've been busy. I've been playing games, but my voice has been a little bit sub-ideal, so I haven't actually been recording. So I have like 5 games to record to do the voiceover for. Hopefully, I can get them out at least consistently for a while because of that. Oh yeah, for whatever reason, the table didn't load the objective markers for him, so we had to put out some stands so that he actually knew where they were. So he moves Stryx up here. This is pretty common, right? Like the Stryx are in a pretty good position. They're threatening the far zone. So I can't really just like go in and take it for free. And he decides to just... The plan here is for those force-grown drones to body block the zone on the other side of the board. That way I just can't get into it, and he's going to pretty much just own it forever. He's going to bring in a second unit of Stryx, which are having a display issue, which is everybody's favorite. They're coming up. Their plan is mostly just to threaten this marker. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't really like throwing Stryx into objective markers. You just kind of run into problems. I roll for 8 mediums on turn 2. I get 3 of them, so I'm going to be able to bring in 4, which is all of my characters and 1 of my units of Flamecasters. And I think I put the wrong card in, but the main thing here is I want to get all 3 of my characters on the table so I can start as many rituals as possible. I really just want to pile the board full of rituals and just see what I can do out of there. So he gets 1 of his 2 mediums, plus he has 2 other mediums because he had flank on his brute drone, so he brings in the Marksman Clones automatically, and I believe, yeah. And so he's just got like a unit of brute drones waiting in the wings, and his Incarnate Sentinels, who will be coming in on turn 3 for sure. So I'm going to be bringing my Rajakur next turn and hopefully roll most of my mediums because they're on 4s. So I bring in Rajakur, and really right now I'm not that afraid of Stryx. There's been a lot of discussion about how Stryx are bad for Sorcerer Kings. Like they're very good against Sorcerer Kings because they're able to chase down and kill characters. But I feel like you have a lot of variety in your regiments as a Sorcerer King player, and it kind of creates a situation where no matter what he charges, I'm going to shoot the Stryx off with either Flamecasters or the Burn to Cinders or Lightning Bolt from my 2 Maharajas. So I don't really care what his Stryx go into as long as I can activate my characters late in the turn, because I'll be able to shoot off the Stryx without really taking much lethal demise. That's at least my game plan at this point. So he moves his force-grown drones into the zone, which is good. So this is a little bit of an issue. Like his Stryx are kind of blocking him. You want to get those force-grown drones up more. Realistically, like the Stryx being in their way is not ideal for Aaron here. This also creates a problem where his Marksman Clones can't just march straight up the field behind his force-grown drones and get a wider berth. So they have to kind of go off to the side a little bit. So he moves them to the hill and angles them in. Whereas if the force-grown drones were in front of the hill, and coming up that side, and their plan is to try to lock my stuff in on the water by just like double marching forward. So I have to, if I want to fight them in the front, I have to fight them on water, and they body block off that flank so that his Marksman Clones are a lot safer. That's a stronger position for the Force Groans. The other side of that issue, though, is the Marksman Clones are not very centralized in that case. So I'm just activating characters here. I have one Maharajah with Shu'laat, so it starts with a ritual with 2 counters, and I have another Maharajah with Jadoo. I've slightly updated this list, and I moved Jadoo to the Sorcerer because I found that I would very often take Conflag as my first action and go into an Elemental, and I wanted to get Jadoo off. And the Sorcerer just has better likelihood of casting a spell that doesn't need any setup. Like, -1 defense doesn't need any setup, +2 movement doesn't need any setup. I just concede 1 damage on the objective marker here to the Stryx charge. Because they're Clash 3, there's 12 attacks. But he rolls it, and then I managed to save all of them, so he doesn't even do the wound to the marker that I was just going to give him. This is why, you know, in competitive games, you should always roll it out, because that stuff can happen. But in practice games, a lot of times I won't, because it kind of makes the practice weird. Like, you can't expect that to happen. But ultimately, I don't think, you know, it's probably not going to change a whole lot. So I had my Rakshasa, and I pass. So I'm done with my turn. So I just go ahead and put my Rakshasa in my stack over there, and then I will roll a bunch of stuff next turn. So he's kind of deciding what he wants to do with Stryx here, and he just moves them up so they can charge clash anything. Or, oh, I guess he March charged. I forgot that he did that. I don't actually have any plans of killing these Stryx, by the way, early in the turn. So I get 2 mediums. I realize that I put the wrong medium on the table. Because, I don't know, they're both Efreet holding fiery swords. They look really similar to me. I mix them up a lot. He brings in, he gets his medium, so he's all in, and I believe I'm all in. And then we're just building stacks. So what's going to happen here is those Stryx are going to inspire clash, right? And they're going to do, on average, they're going to do 6 hits. I'm going to save 3 of them, and I'm going to fail like 1.5 results. So I'm going to lose, I'm going to take 4 or 5 wounds, and then I'm just going to march flame casters on, like, next to my Rajakur and shoot them. And I'm going to shoot them with, like, my other Maharajah, or I'm going to walk these flame casters around and shoot them. And I'm just going to, you know, I might -1 evasion them with the Sorcerer to make it a little easier, but it's probably unnecessary. And I'm just not really worried about these Stryx. Like, what are they really doing? You know, they're going to kill a stand. But if anything of actual value goes into my Rajakur, they're going to die anyway. So I'm trying to avoid that either way. So he hits with 7. You know, I'm saving on 3s. I fail 5. I'm resolved 3. So I end up taking 9. No, I did that wrong. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. They literally never get attacked again in this game. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I took 5. I took 5 and then I failed 2, so I took 7, which was correct. I just did some bad math there. So then I go with another Rajakur, and this is actually a mistake. I end up just take-aim volleying with the Sorcerer. Or I volley with the Sorcerer. Yeah, I volley with the Sorcerer and then march into the zone. I'm just trying to get turn Conduit on here, but like it's just a little bit of damage to these Stryx, right? He only took 1, not a huge deal. I just want to do whatever damage I can to the Stryx that doesn't do lethal demise to me. And I just have a lot of sources of, you know, I can just do that pretty easily with this list. So his Stryx and Spire Clash here. Obviously, there should already be a wound on it, but he rolled really bad. So we talked a little bit about how he would have to withdraw because he was like unsure if he wanted to like remain in combat with it. Personally, what I would have done there is clashed without inspiring and withdrawn. Then I would have my next turn, or I would have just gone with like withdraw, reform, so that my next turn I could plan on like heading towards the other zones. So I just march my Flamecasters up here a little bit, and I take I march up and I shoot, and I get 11 shots. So I do 5 hits into the Stryx, which, you know, there goes another stand. Oh. And I mean, like that was fine. I probably should have brought my Flamecasters in a little more centralized, like behind the train over here, but I didn't really want them getting threatened by his Stryx on the other side of the board. So yeah, his Force Grown drones are moving up here, and they're just kind of trying to body block the zone because I'm all stacked up on the right side of the board. That makes sense. It's a solid play. I march forward and reform, and my plan here is just to shoot some Stryx with lightning future turn. So I bring some Sword Dancers. I just run them up. I want to make sure that if anything comes into them, that thing's gonna be in the water. And they're not, so that they can. But it also puts them in a position to march, charge, clash the flank of the Force Grown drones with elemental, with an elemental trigger going off. So I want to put them in a situation where they can threaten things. They also, if those Marksman Clones start moving up, they get a little bit, I guess, threatened by the Sword Dancers. So he lethargies the marker, so that he's going to be able to very easily do 2 damage to it by giving it -1 defense, and then he uses his character's entourage activation to charge in. So he's got a bunch of impacts here. We decide to roll it for posterity's sake, but it's, you know, I don't even roll the saves here, and I definitely don't make him clash. I'm like, let's not screw that up. So Maharajah is just gonna cast a lightning bolt over his friends. And we only did 3 hits, but it's enough to nearly kill the Stryx. I actually think the Stryx are at 1 wound, but whatever. Not a huge deal. Oh, and I started another conflagration, which I almost forgot to do. So then I go with the Fire Maharajah, and I believe I start another conflagration, because I'm really just trying to stack up my conflags here. And then I believe I burn to cinders. Oh no, I decided to like heal my unit because I'm planning on bringing on more Flamecasters to shoot into the Stryx. and so that I can like walk onto the zone and get an extra Arcane Conduit trigger. So he draws Bound Clones, he just brings them on, or I guess he did that last turn. So he has Brute Drones, and he just, I believe, he moves them up to kind of threaten Sword Dancers. I'm completely fine with this, actually, because like he's losing to Sword Dancers. If he charges me in the front in water, I'm gonna take a little bit of damage, but I'm gonna win that fight through. I mean, I'm never gonna. You never fight fair, right? So he'll charge me, and he'll do a little damage, and then I'll clash him back, and then shoot him with like flame casters to make sure that he at least breaks and doesn't get any healing. So I bring my Rakshasa on, and I bring it up there. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have wheeled it in very much, but I wanted to make sure I was in a good position. So he brings Incarnate Sentinels up across from the Bakusa, and that's strong. Like that's the best place for the Incarnate Sentinels to go. They're also blocking the flank of the Marksman Clones, which makes things pretty difficult. So I bring Flamecasters on and march them onto the board and shoot, and miraculously only do 2 wounds. And then he has to go with Marksman Clones. And this is one of the advantages of Sorcerer Kings, especially as the game goes on. It's a lot easier as a Sorcerer Kings to add to your stack and be able to go very late in the turn. So you can usually do something pretty neat, like a big elemental play early on, and then much later in the turn, do something else, just wait for your opponent to take their whole turn after you've made your big play with elemental. And then just, get to take a couple of free turns at the end of a turn. So there's just a lot of value there that I think is it's always a balancing act. Like, it's certainly good to get through your whole stack faster, and obviously +1, or +1 -1 on the supremacy roll is also really a big deal. But there's just so much value in being able to go at the end of the turn with all of your stuff unanswered. And I think that's something that is pretty commonly overlooked, I would say. So he's really trying to decide where he wants his Marksman Clones to be. Realistically, he should probably have just stayed where he was. He kind of creates an opening here where I can get into that Marksman Clone flank. Like, if I were to win priority next turn, I could March Charge Clash the Marksman Clones with the Rakshasa, and win the game. So I bring on the other unit of Flamecasters, and I shoot some Stryx. I end up just deciding to go for Clash, no Inspire, and I just roll the character here, which does do like the 2 remaining wounds on him, and then I take 4. Which breaks me. I believe he actually only would have had 1 wound left, so I think I miscounted earlier in the turn, but it's okay. I think he should have taken 1 more wound from the resolve from the spell, but I don't really care. I just wanted to clash, do enough damage to move into the zone. Like I said, that unit dies to anything like serious that attacks it anyway. I just want to get my Arcane Conduit trigger. So here I'm going to get 2 Arcane Conduits off. I score the zone because the Sorcerer is still in it. It doesn't matter that the Maharajah is broken. And then I choose to finish 1 Conflag. Because I figure I'm going to want a triple activation. I bring in my last 2 Sword Dancers, because I guess I had failed 2 Sword Dancers. And I have to play patiently this game. Thankfully, the scenario kind of allows it. Even if he gets both of the center markers, I get a little bit behind on points, but he's not in the zones yet, and I am, so I feel like I have time to catch up. I'm feeling fairly strong about the left side of the board because he's all tilted towards me, and I have a lot of angles into his flanks. Like, sure, those brute drones are there. They're somewhat frustrating to deal with, but are they really going to matter? I believe what I do here, it's been, like I said, it's been a couple weeks. I think I stack like Conflag and Rakshasa as like my bottom 2 cards, so that and the plan is that he's gonna kill the marker and move forward. If he doesn't move forward, that's fine. I just get the zone an extra turn. We're good with that. If he does move forward, then I'm going to use that Conflag to shoot him with some magic, and that's good. But the Rakshasa is going to be in a place where it can March Charge Clash into the Marksman Clones. Like, he's not angled in a way to have good shots into it, so it's not going to die. And I'll be able to March Charge Clash unanswered into basically anything on the left side of the board. And if he goes with the Brute Drones and he Charge Clashes the Rakshasa, then the Brute Drones are going to die to the flank charge. They're not going to do that much because of the water. And then they're going to die to the flank charge from the Sword Dancers. And the Rakshasa is just going to kind of get to eat half of the board. So I'm really not scared. Like, anything he does, he's going to be trading regiments for some wounds on my side, on my left side. And I still have 2 more Sword Dancers that can kind of come in wherever they want to be to create like board space for me, however I need. And he's already committed. So I'm feeling fairly good about my positioning here. I'm not behind on points. I'm actually ahead on points because he hasn't gotten a medium into his zone yet, and he hasn't finished off either of those markers, though I am realistically at the very least behind 2 points. Or 1 point, because he's going to kill his marker pretty much for free. So he marches the Marksman Clones into the zone, and then I believe he just like takes some shots at the Rakshasa off of Biomancer. And so he's going to be on 3s because he goes with the Grant Virulence Unstable plan. And I mean, this stings. I think 1 stand is out is what we're measuring here. We're just checking the range on that 1 guy. And this would be the reason for me to consider going Conflag first. So I take 12, which is a lot more than I should take. So that stings. I should take about 7 or 8. So I'm like, well, you know, things are not looking up anymore, because now I would die to the Brute Drones. But it's still a long charge for him. I think it might not even be makeable. It might be March Charge only. I think I might have put myself 12.1 away from them. It looks pretty close to 12 inches, and that does sound like something I would do. So I go with Rajakur, and I just unbreak, and just hang out where I'm at. I'm happy there. I just want to unbreak so that if I have to cast spells that don't do anything, I can heal. I'm just delaying. So he draws Brute Drones. And he foolishly rewound time. And anytime you do that on Tabletop Simulator, a whole bunch of stuff gets messed up. I actually lost a video to this happening once because I didn't realize. I use a second computer to record the top-down view, and I play on my other computer. So I didn't realize that had happened in one of my games. It was my Fallen Divinity game against Mass, and he rewound time in it, and literally half my video was just that screen where it says like select spectator. So that killed that video. But the reason you try to avoid doing it is if you'll notice a lot of these cards look weird. That is just the nature of like doing this on Tabletop Simulator, is that it makes a lot of the cards look weird sometimes. I'm not really sure like how or why it happens. My Maharajah just casts a spell on his unit to try to heal 2 wounds. So he does. He's just going to slowly heal those guys back. And he chooses to tick up 2 rituals. I think realistically I should have started a second conflagration there. Or a third. Just started another conflag, but it's pretty minor. So he's decided to do the same thing with his Brute Drones that I did with like my Sorcerer or my Sword Dancers. And he's just like, if you're going to fight me, you're going to do it in water. It's a smart play. It's a good way to use the terrain. So I go with Rajakur here. And I don't think I'm in range with the Sorcerer's shooting. So I just like reform these guys and march them a little bit forward. Just to barely touch the zone. I'm fairly, like, I'd be fairly happy if he were to, like, kill the marker and then charge me. I don't, like, super love it, but if he does that, I'm going to have a lot of things. I'm going to be able to pile a lot of damage on him. Like, my Flame Casters are right there. My Sorcerer is fairly late in the stack, so I'll be able to -1 defense him. I guess not. I thought my Sorcerer was late in the stack. Sorcerer just goes out and heals these guys, gives them like +2 move on their next move action, something like that. And also finishes 2 conflagrations. So we finish those up and we put them in the stack. So I go with sword dancers here, and I charge, and I have impacts on 2s, rerolling 6s because of Jadoo, so we get 3 hits. And he takes 2 of those. And he fails the 1 resolve that matters, so he takes 3 damage, and then I have 19 clash attacks. These are on 3s, rerolling 6s because of Jadoo. So that's another 12. This should break him. I mean, I expect to do like the 10 wounds that I need, but I only do 3 here, so it doesn't. He does at least fail a resolve, so he only takes 7 wounds for my charge. And actually, what is the math? The actual math on that is I should do 4 impact hits and just 11 other ones. So he should take 7 and then fail. He should actually only take like 8 or 9. So he really only took like 1 below average. So these Force Grown drones are kind of in the way. And they have bad card images. Oh, he locked. So sometimes when you lock a unit next to a forest on this board, it totally screws everything up. But, you know, that's a thing. So I draw another Sword Dancer here, and I decide to bring them in because I'm like, well, you know, I'm going to need something to deal with these Brute Drones. So I take advantage of my missing stand. Because the Brute Drones can't get to me this turn. And I come up right behind my Maharajah. I bring on more Sword Dancers. These ones I choose to bring in over backing pretty much exactly where the previous ones were. Expecting that I'm going to kill the Brute Drones, die to Marksman Clones, and then have a free line to March Charge Clash into Marksman Clones. So I'm trying to decide here. I have the like March Charge Clash to kill the Marksman Clones with the Rakshasa as this turn wanes on. But then I'm going to die to Incarnate Sentinels. And I think that's fine. Like I don't really care if I die to Incarnate Sentinels, as long as I get rid of Marksman Clones. But I feel pretty good. But he comes up and he stops that. So he's like, I can't allow you to just charge the flank of my Marksman Clones. He knows that those things are really the key to winning this game. Like they really are. If the Marksman Clones go down when you're playing into this version of Under Spires, that's just extremely good for you. He's smart here too. He uses a second action to reform, to create an angle in which no matter where I charge him, the Marksman Clones will be able to see my Rakshasa and be able to take aim volley it. He knows he can't escape the March Charge Clash. He knows he needs to stop me from being able to charge to March Charge Clash the Marksman Clones, and he knows that he wants his Marksman Clones to be able to take aim volley me on the following turn. So this is very good. I think that's a very good play. I'm honestly not sure what's happening right now. Dice got rolled. We put some damage on something that didn't need damage. I really. My last move was Sword Dancers. Oh, okay. Yeah, so he went with Brute Drones and he clashed and killed the marker. And he's just marching forward. He's staying out of range of the Flamecasters, which is smart. So I just take aim volley him with my sorcerer. I'm just like, I don't know, I'll do a wound or something. So he takes a wound because he gave himself Tenacious and then Entourage out of it. So I go with Conflagration here. I think he's outside of 12 from the Sorcerer. Yeah, I end up just like going for the Blast spell. I think that's worse than doing the defense from or the -1 defense from Sorcerer. And I just March Charge Clash with the Rakshasa here. One second, my printer turned on here. All right, well, I guess I'll move this over here. Yeah, sorry about that. Printer decided it was going to print something. So I charge in, Rakshasa just, Does a chunk of damage. Kills 2 stands. You know, we're 15 attacks on 4s, rerolling 6s. It's a good bit of damage. And then then Flamecasters go and they take aim volley, and then these Flamecasters go and they take aim volley. These ones march and volley. Only 2 hits, so obviously he doesn't die. He does take both of them, so he's on a whole wound. And the last Flamecasters are the ones over here. They just move up and they shoot. You know, like, it's not great shots, but they're shots. So we just do whatever damage we can. And this is why I should have done -1 defense. I would have done more damage than the slight damage from the spell, especially when he had Tenacious up. But he takes 2 wounds here, which is actually pretty important because it means that if I can get any damage on him before he goes, he wouldn't be able to get a whole stand back from regen. And then I get 3 Arcane Conduits. So I'm just going to go for like a triple Conflag turn. So this turn I definitely stack Conflag into Rakshasa. And I think it's Conflag, Rakshasa, Sword Dancers, because my plan is I go Conflag, and if I lose priority, then his Marksman Clones are going to kill my Rakshasa. But I'll still be able to go Conflag into Conflag into Sword Dancers, finish off the remaining wound on the Brute Drone, charge into Marksman Clones. He doesn't have like a good thing to deal with my Sword Dancers in his Marksman Clones at that point, so I likely keep them from being very threatening. If I win priority, then the Rakshasa goes Clash, Reform, Charge, and that's the end of the line for the Marksman Clones. They're gonna take some impacts in the flank, which they don't love, and then they're going to take Aura of Death, which they don't love. And if they're still alive, which they might be, they're completely neutered. They won't be able to withdraw without shattering. They probably break from those other damage sources, so they can't even heal anything back. So they end up like healing and clashing, or rallying and clashing. And they're just, they're no longer a threat. So now there's like nothing dangerous on that side of the board. So Aaron's planning out a stack here. I think mine's already set. Waiting for something to happen. Okay. So we're about to roll priority. I roll a 3, and Aaron rolls a 5, and this is huge for me. So I go Conflagration, and I think I do like no draw events. Yeah, I know I put no draw events on them because I don't have Jadoo on my sorcerer like I definitely should. And then I go Rakshasa and I go Clash, no Inspire. I only do 4 hits. But he only has 3 wounds left. So he takes 2. So he's on 1 wound. So he has 2 saves on 2s, or 2 resolves on 2s. And he fails exactly enough. So, and then I reform and charge. And I do 5 impacts. And he takes 3, and he saves on 1s. So he fails all of those, and then he's on 2s, or on 1s again, so he just takes 6 wounds. So he's not quite broken, but he's displeased. He's displeased with the amount of damage he's taken. And then, so he draws Biomancer, and he doesn't have a great play here. So this is one of those issues where if you're banking on winning priority and you don't, it's pretty bad. So I had a plan that I think was pretty good even if I lost priority, which was the Sword Dancers do the 1 remaining wound and then charge the Marksman Clones in the front, which pretty much shuts them off. But if I win priority, then the Rakshasa just kills him, which, you know, is what happened, right? So he takes Aura of Death, and he's alive on a whole wound. So he like rallies and clashes. So he has 5 attacks. He unstabled, so he was on 2s. So I do take the wound. So I have 3 whole wounds left on my Rakshasa. And then he has Decay of 6, which I believe shatters him here. Because, yeah, he fails 2, which is enough to make him shatter. Or maybe break again. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So then I draw Sword Dancers. Like I said, they were my next card for the exact play that we discussed. But because I don't really need them to do anything over there, I decide to win the game. This is the play that I think makes it impossible for him to win the game. So I move these guys up, and I move close enough to him that he can't wheel past me, so he's forced to charge me and expose his flank to a bunch of shooting and just like getting whole wombo comboed by the right side of my board. So like all of this stuff over here, we've got a lightning Sork, or lightning Maharajah, we got Sork for -1 defense, we've got Burn to Cinders, and we have Flame Casters to like make all my hits do more. So we can just like, if he charges in and kills these Sword Dancers, which he probably kills them, right? But he charges in, he kills them. I guess he was in range for no draw events. I think that's what I did with my Maharajah. So he charges in. My wife's printing something. So he charges in, and he's probably going to kill these Sword Dancers. He doesn't bunch on the impacts, and we're not even going to like roll out these clashes. So but yeah, so he ends up hitting with like 11 out of 13. I take 7. I go with Flamecasters. I think I'm going to point. I think I end up changing my mind and just going with, I go with the ones over here to try to get shots off on the Stryx or the Brute Drones. I don't really remember which. I think I go over here and I try to kill the Brute Drones so that I can charge clash the flank of the Force Grown Drones and really just chunk them. I only do 2 hits, but he's only got 1 wound left, so he dies. And then he goes with Stryx, and he actually gets a stand back. And then Inspire clashes, and I think he does another wound to the marker. Then I go with Sorcerer, and I just go ahead and give him -1 defense. That spell's not scaling, and I'm not really sure why, but it works out well for me here. This game was a good example of why Jadoo should be on my Sorcerer, because I would have much rather had the initial con flag to do -1 defense on the Brute Drones, and then Jadoo, and activate Jadoo for the rest of my army. But the no draw events, was useful. So I go Maharajah, and I just charge in the flank here. So these are the lightning ones. Rajakur. And, he takes like 3 wounds, and he's -2 or -1 defense, so he takes 3, and then he resolves normally because he's a Sorcerer Warlord or a Pheromancer Warlord. So he ends up just like taking 3 damage. And he just passed. Those are just the resolves that he passed. So I go with Maharajah, or he's deciding what to do with his Force-Grown drones. I don't remember what he does. They're kind of stuck. So yeah, he just kind of slides them over to make it a little harder charge for the Sword Dancers. So my Maharajah casts and gets 5 hits. We do a little damage. Just plinking away. Or gets 4 hits. Sorry, that was the light. We did it with the Lightning Maharajah there. Found Clones move and just kind of hold the zone. I don't remember if I charge here or not. I should charge. Yeah, I charge. All right. Realistically, I maybe should have charged with the Warlord Maharajah. But I mean, I protected Jadoo is what I did, because Jadoo is just very, very good, and you want to keep it around as long as possible. So he draws Brute Drones that are dead. I go with the other Maharajah, and I just tick up both rituals, and I cast Burn to Cinders, and I get 7 hits because he's engaged with a Born of Flame unit. And then we conflag, and we get 7 hits again. So we forgot, because I almost shot him with Flamecasters early in the turn. We thought I had shot him with Flamecasters, so I'm getting +1 on all of these. He gets way overkilled, so it really doesn't change anything, but that was a mistake that we made. So I think we just roll the charge into the flank here. Oh no, sorry. I March Charge Clash. I was thinking about going into the Bound Clones, but I'm just like, well, we just get a bunch of damage into the flank of some Force-Grown drones here. And so we do 4. He is on 2s because he does have Bastion up. He didn't fail any of his resolves. We do 14 more hits. He's on 2s again. So he saves 5, so he takes another 9. And fails one of those. So, like, not a massive amount of damage, but it adds up. You know, everything adds up. So we go with Conflag again. We do another blast into these guys. And he passes the resolve, but that's enough to shatter him. And then we go Sword Dancers, and I think, and then so we just march, Charge, Clash, the Stryx. So we do the impacts. And then the Stryx die. And then I take 2 wounds, and I take another couple wounds. So I mostly did that because I wanted to kill the marker myself. I didn't want him to get those victory points. And I'm just reforming over here. I'm trying to get within 12 of the Force-Grown drones so that I can set up my Conflag at the start of the next turn. So these guys really don't have a good place to go. So they go over 3 and then up 6. And then I draw another Flamecasters, and I'm like, wait a second. Why am I... Oh, I didn't go with those ones earlier. Oops. So then we realized that we had made some mistakes. And I should have had the second Flamecaster unit before all the characters went in my stack, but I didn't. So that was a mistake. And he would, he would have died to the take aim volley from this Flamecaster unit if he hadn't taken the +3 spell hits or whatever throughout the rest of the turn. So we had plenty of overkill onto those brute drones. So yeah, I get another Conflag, I add it to the stack. I put it first. My plan is to try to prevent the Force-Grown drones from getting draw events, and then immediately go with the Rakshasa to try to kill the Biomancer. I believe I'm within 11, so it's just a guaranteed charge. But I don't actually know. I might need a 2 or something. But obviously the writing's on the wall here, right? There's no way for me to lose this game. He's ahead on points, but obviously that's not going to last for long. I'm going to score both zones from turns 6 through 10. I'm going to kill this marker. And he might kill these guys. They're going to take 8 Aura of Death if he reforms to face them, but then he gets shot by all this stuff. So it's not great either way. I think so. We talk about it a bunch, but we're just whatever. Let's just play it out for the camera. So he wins initiative as I rolled a 6, and then he didn't have to roll a dice. So he goes Biomancer. And I think he just full combos his unit. Or no, I rolled a 3 and he rolled a 2, so he goes first. I remember that he went first. Oh, nope, he tried to charge. He went Biomancer, unstable, Virulence, unstable, because he wanted to try to kill the Rakshasa, and he failed the charge, and then he took 1 wound, and then he heals it with the Biomancer. So I go Conflag, and I make it so the Force-Grown drones can't resolve draw events, And then, yeah, like I said, I had Rakshasa, so then I charge in and I kill these guys. Definitely after he failed the charge, I was guaranteed in. So 5 impacts, Jadoo, 1 hit. He saves it, and then 15 cleave, whatever. He declines the duel, so these are on 4s with flurry. Or I guess they should. Oh no, he accepted the duel because he thought it was his best chance of killing the Rakshasa, which honestly is fair. So his Biomancer dies and makes like 2 attacks. Yeah, realistically, I probably shouldn't have dueled there, but I gotta do it, right? Like, I have arrogance. What am I gonna do? Not duel? So then I do 13 hits to the like remaining guys, and he takes 5, and then he's on 1s. Six, 7. So he actually doesn't die, which is pretty hilarious, despite getting killed in the duel. So bound clones were drawn. High clone goes and draws force grown drones, and he just. I mean, I don't know if you. I think he could reform here. I don't think it helps. I don't think there's really anything that matters. Reform gets more attacks on the front of the. Gets more stands on the front of the sword dancers, but I think he ends up just like Inspire clashing. Hoping that it like chunks me down enough that the Aura of Death really beats me up. So I'm just kind of like wheeling through my cards here. I start another conflict with 2 counters on it. And then I just try to blast him. That turns into 3 successes because he is engaged with the sorcerer unit. The sorcerer goes, she goes -1 defense, and that turns into 3 successes too, but that spell doesn't scale, so it doesn't actually matter, so it still passes. And then Maharajah goes, and I think we just cast like a lightning bolt, or we cast like a burn to cinders. Yeah, we start another conflag, and then we just cast burn to cinders or lightning bolt, whichever one. I think that was light. Yeah, I think it was. I'm not sure what's happening. None of those are the right number of dice to roll. If it was lightning bolt, it would have been 6 dice. If it was burn to cinders, it would have been like 9 dice. I don't know. So I hit with 11. These are all just true damage because he's -1 defense and he's in the flank, so he doesn't get a shield and he doesn't get any resolves. So that breaks him. So now he's on, but which doesn't matter. He's still on 5s. But he has to reroll successes because his Warlord's dead. So he takes like 2 more. And my Flamecaster, or my Sword Dancers, I believe I charge him. Yeah, because I don't know if I don't have to charge. I never charge the marker, so I'm not engaged with the marker. So I think I just charge him in the front to finish him off. Oh no, I guess I didn't. I just attacked it. So I go sideways and I shoot. I think I'm shooting the marker. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. It doesn't matter. This one's obviously over. Yeah, I'm just shooting the marker, and then I make space so these guys can march sideways and shoot the marker, and I could just kill it. I think I thought the sword dancers were engaged with it, even though I don't think they are. Like, they're touching it because the Stryx were, but they didn't charge it, and charging is the only way you're allowed to become engaged with something. So I think like raw, they're not touching it, and therefore not engaged with it. So I don't know. That's one of those ones that I might have to ask Leo someday, because it's a little bit on the weird side. And yeah, so obviously, like, we can just stop it here. We'll like zoom through it. I think we roll it, and I win priority, and I like conflag to remove his draw events, and then I march like. Yeah, we like remove all these stands. And then I march, charge, clash him. Actually, I think I can just charge. Oh yeah, I can't see him, so I march forward, and then I just charge, and then I just clash. Oh, he did win priority, so he went first, and he did like 1 wound to sword dancers. And then he dies to the Rakshasa. Yeah. So, obviously, Sorcerer Kings are a terrible army and don't work. As everyone knows. And but thankfully, like, Under Spires is somehow worse. So realistically, it's very finessey army, right? And it's a lot of stacking all of your stuff together, because it's like, all right, well, I got to get -1 defense on you, and because like Sorcerer Kings don't really have a lot of cleave, the other than like the air gin. So you're kind of in this situation where you do a lot of paper cut hits, just tons and tons of cleave 0 hits, and that's really good. Cleave 0 hits turn out they're actually pretty solid if you just have enough of them. But this is also a Spires list that isn't really packed full of defense 4, whereas if it's like a bunch of Avatara and Incarnate Sentinels, things might get a little tougher. That being said, I'm playing the same list, except I moved Jadoo onto the Sorcerer in the like upcoming online tournament that Conquest Eternal is hosting. So I guess we'll see how I do in that. But I really like Sorcerer Kings now. I enjoy the way the ritual mechanics work. I like that it's intentional. I can choose to end them. I can choose to like add them to the stack when I want them. So if I don't want a ritual on a turn, I don't have to have it. It doesn't just like happen. I'm not a big fan of things that I have to track that I don't have a choice about. Just personally, like, I think they're fine game design. Like, I think Old Dominion are a fine like designed army, but personally, I find myself forgetting those effects a lot, and then having to go back and do some accounting about, okay, so what died, how many times did I successfully cast this spell, like weird stuff like that. Thank goodness for no bloodlust. It's a rule that lets me not do what I want with my units. Even in this game, like, I wouldn't have been able to do that move that I wanted to do with the sword dancers up here to block off his brute drones. Just a lot of those types of things. Realistically, I think the big mistakes here are you want your Marksman Clones in the center of the board so that they can shoot everywhere. And usually you want your force grown drones like not in the zone, but on the outside of the zone, pushing forward. That way I'm not scoring if I'm killing them. And it's going to take me some time to kill them. And also, I can't really flank them. Like, if they come in along this line and the Marksman Clones are in here, like, it's hard for me to get at the Marksman Clones because you can just, like, march charge whatever wants to threaten them. And it makes space so that they're more able to get into the zone, or you can push past the zone with the Force-Grown Drones. And doing that enables you to shoot the marker with the Marksman Clones. So there's just a lot of options here. Really, the Under Spire's list hinges on what the Marksman Clones do. They're the main source of damage, so they have to do a lot. And if they don't do a lot, then the list doesn't really kill anything. And that's kind of what happened here. Like, once I got through those, there wasn't anything that he had left that really was a threat. Even the Incarnate Sentinels, you know, if he had kept them back so that I March Charge clashed and killed the Marksman Clones with my Raksasa, then we're in a situation where I get charge clashed in the flank, and I die. So Rakshas is dead. But what are those Incarnate Sentinels gonna do? Like, they'll charge in, they'll maybe kill some Sword Dancers, and then just get blown up by 2 units of flame casters that are just sitting there waiting for them to do that, or countercharged by more flame casters. And at the end of the day, you know, they're resolve 3. It only takes 12 wounds to kill them. 12 wounds in melee to kill them, or, you know, like 54 hits from shooting and clashes. It just doesn't take that long to take them out. So, you know, they died pretty fast to the Rakshasa. The terrifying one's pretty neat. So, but yeah, we're just in a situation where, like, there's not a whole lot of damage in Under Spires. Like, if you can take a lot of activations and not take a lot of Aura of Death, and then you can get to and kill the Marksman Clones, it's not great. It's not great for the Under Spire list. So the whole Under Spire list is about keeping those Marksman Clones safe, and that's what you're using your drone blocks for. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm gonna try to catch up a little bit because I missed a couple weeks of uploads. The rest of my day is looking kind of busy, so it probably won't be today, but hopefully throughout this week I at least get 1 more video out, and then can maybe do 2 next week, but I can't promise anything. Life's hectic. Thanks for watching. If you feel so inclined, like, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Have a great night or day. Catch you guys next week.